So yes, and like, small business is hard, right? Especially small hospitality, or I think like whatever you want to call like business, where like you've got a physical location. There's a lot of capex goes into that. There's a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of staff costs. It's a low margin business these days, compared to maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But the other thing that we did that I think Eve would say as well, we should do differently again, would be we were trying to be everything to everyone. We were lucky enough that we had a site with a license from like 8 a.m. till 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So we were trading.
Yeah.
We were brunch. We were late night. We had the idea that people would be buying kebabs at 2 a.m.
Welcome to Captive Conversations, powered by Captive Wi-Fi. This podcast brings you the best stories from suppliers, marketers, and operators from our beloved hospitality sector. Let's get on with the show.
Hello, everyone. And we have Travis Fish, the Operations Director at Comptoir Group, and the man with his fingers in many pies, which we'll talk about it a little bit later. But thank you for coming into my podcast studio.
Happy to be here.
We were both at HRC earlier, so it was a busy day. Are you going back tomorrow?
No.
Oh, you're done.
I'm done. I've done it now.
Yeah,
I can't do too many of those.
Yeah, I think I'm done too. So, but most likely you'll probably see me there tomorrow. But maybe for a short amount of time. Okay, sorry, I was just looking at the questions. Okay, so we're going to start with two questions. Mm-hmm. The two questions from the last guest. So that was Frederick from Embargo. And question one was, if you started again, what was the one thing you would change? And what mistake did you make that had to happen?
Yeah, sort of two questions.
Yeah,
two questions in one. I think I spent a good part of the first probably 10 years I was working being quite scared. Scared to talk, scared to speak up, scared to, I guess like ask someone something, and I think as I've got older and, a bit more experienced, I've relaxed into that. There is no one I wouldn't happily now email and say, I would like to learn this from you. Like, can I come talk to you about it? And I spent a long time being very scared to put myself out there. And I guess it's a bit why I've leaned a bit more into networking and the stuff that we'll probably talk about later around Ops Club is I think a lot of people struggle to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
I think you have to make that easier.
I like that. We do some stuff with the US team called Digital Hospitality. And one of the main things in that group is ask for help, because people will help. So and people
like to help.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's difficult to sometimes ask a question if you're in that position.
But once you start, it just gets incrementally easier. Like once you've done it once or twice and you've cold emailed someone or called someone and said, look, you do that thing really well, or I like what you're doing there. Can I come see it? People don't say no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spent a long time, I guess just being a bit lacking in confidence.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's definitely the first thing that came to mind. And then I guess the second part of that question, what mistake did you make that had to happen? I did really badly in my degree. And I went to UCL, just around the corner. I worked at a pub just around the corner, The Court, which you probably know. And that was my degree instead of my degree. And it was fantastic, and it probably did have to happen because I applied for lots of the normal, grad schemes and banking internships and didn't get any of them because I actually didn't do very well at uni. But what it did do is open the door to my entire career, which is hospitality. So I was very lucky to get a job in hospitality. But yeah, it had to happen because I think before that, my trajectory was quite traditional. You go to school, you get a degree in classics, and you go into something like consulting or banking or something really boring.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad it happened.
So you found hospo.
I did.
Which is good. Okay. Question number 2. What is your go-to inspiration podcast?
I don't know if it counts as an inspiration podcast, but it is my favourite podcast at the moment. I've actually got 2, but the main one is called Acquired. And it is a podcast. Do you know it?
No.
So it's a long form podcast where the episodes are like 2 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
All about companies.
Ooh.
So they deep dive all big companies and how they've grown, what's happened, the stories. So I'm listening to the Rolex one at the moment.
Ooh.
5 hours on the history from like the 1700s through to now. They do Walmart. They've done IKEA, It's fascinating.
Oh, I mean, okay, thanks. Great.
Genuinely
Another one
fascinating.
to add to my list of many podcasts.
Genuinely
Great.
fascinating.
Another one to add to my list of many
I know,
podcasts. 'cause
and I don't. I only have 4 or 5 that I allow myself at any one point. But
Yeah.
and it's hard when they're 5 hours.
Yeah, that's
it's
like
quite
that.
a commitment.
Is it that or true crime?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So that's my favourite.
yeah, that's good because it gives you an insight, right?
Yeah,
as well,
yeah.
with
And
growth
like
and everything.
I love, I think the things people do when they start companies and grow companies, it's super interesting.
Yeah, and the trajectory of falling into stuff as well, which is really interesting. So okay, so my little researcher that I mentioned earlier, it said it was quite fun actually. It was like from Nando's to BabaBoom, you transitioned from being a regional MD of a major chain like Nando's, co-founding your own restaurant brand.
Mm-hmm.
What were the biggest lessons you carried from over the corporate world, and what new lessons did you learn in the hardest way as an entrepreneur with BabaBoom? But before we start that, we're just gonna let's go to. I keep doing this. Let's go back in time. And we're just going to go through that career piece because so you left uni.
I left uni and I was
Did
already.
you finish uni or
I did finish.
Yeah.
And I got a degree.
Okay.
Just not a great one. Not one
That's
that
fine. A degree's a
talk
degree.
about on camera.
A degree's a degree. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. And no one's ever asked to see the certificate, so that's
It
good.
doesn't exist.
So I was very lucky. So the Court is a Mitchells and Butlers pub.
Yes.
So I was part of that business already. And they have a grad scheme, and they have a grad scheme that is like an ops manager grad scheme. So I was very lucky that my degree didn't preclude me from getting onto that grad scheme, and I got a place there. So I spent 4 or 5 more years at MB, learning to be an area manager.
Yeah.
Running businesses, and you got to do like marketing and HR and finance. And
So this was part of that journey, or different parts of the business.
Yeah. So it was like a
cool.
proper 2-year investment from them. It was fantastic, like absolute cornerstone.
How many locations were they back then? Because it must have been
Oh,
more.
like 1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge business, 40,000 people. It was before the Stonegate demerger, and yeah, it was a brilliant place. I guess, to get that grounding. And then very similarly did the same thing, like a similar thing at Nando's. I got an opportunity to be an ops manager there. Moved back to London and did again a traditional ops manager sort of role, but very different business.
Yeah.
Privately owned. No shareholders to report to every quarter. Very different approach to like management versus leadership.
Had Nando's already grown at that point?
Nando's was
it still
200.
Yeah.
It's now 500.
Yeah.
So it is much bigger now, but it was still pretty big.
Yeah.
Especially in 2012.
Yeah.
Like, it was a big deal. But it was still very entrepreneurial compared to, I think, where it's at now, or where like any 200 site business would be now. It was quite, independent.
Yeah.
But it was again a fantastic place to go and learn. So yeah, that was like the first 8 years of my career in quite traditional.
Yeah, traditional roles.
Yeah, and it was good. And like I think it teaches you a huge amount about Mitchells and Butlers especially, process and organization and like I guess just how to do like the fundamentals of like hospitality operations. Like certain things you have to do, you have to make sure you can do. You have to be able to deliver, ultimately we have to be able to deliver profitability. I think that's the thing I didn't understand then.
So was it with ops at Nando's, were you in a ops manager or was it more of a, did it tee into more?
No, I was still an ops manager at Nando's.
So what, for multiple locations?
Yes,
or,
yeah.
So how many locations were you
13 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, nice. So it wasn't like, because in the past I've spoken to people who had pubs. And they were like, I've got like 50 pubs I've got to manage. And
yes. Yeah. So no, it was really good, and I think because I'd started hospitality, I guess you start hospitality, I think, because you love either working with people or teams, or you love service, and so you're quite idealistic. You're like, we want to have the best service, we want to have the best food, we want to have the best cleanliness, we want to have the best whatever it is. And though quality is important, I think what I didn't realize then was that there's a reason why you also have to like make money. If you can't, there's no point having.
It could be the best of everything.
Yes, the best of everything.
Yeah.
But you'll be out of money in 6 months, and actually your customers in a community pub in South Birmingham, actually they're not going to pay for that. And so like you really have to, it's all about balance. And I think the first probably 8 years of my career, there was always quite a lot of frustration. I felt of like, the balance between profitability or the profit drive that big companies have, and my idealistic view that hospitality should be amazing.
Yeah, it's all about the people.
Yes, exactly. And that's sort of how I'd been raised.
Yeah.
and that's just not all it is.
No.
And then I think moving from a larger business to smaller business, you get a huge crash course in the realities of life.
Yeah. So was it from Nando's straight to
BabaBoom?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I was, very, very respectable job.
Yeah.
I was about 30, I think, when I took the leap. But it was a good time. I didn't have a family, wasn't married yet. Had a couple of years of, good Nando's bonus saved up. And yeah, I met someone called Eve, and she was about to start a restaurant business. She had that much was certain. She just wasn't quite sure exactly what and when and how and who. And we started that journey. It was quite a look back now, quite a big decision.
Yeah, massive decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess you don't do these things like you don't go full like it's a lot of little decisions, isn't it? Like you have a conversation and you think about it a lot, and so by the time I came to do it, it didn't feel that risky. Now I look at it and I'm like, well, it's a pretty risky decision. But actually, even though we haven't made our millions and retired, like we've done something really cool, and I've learned an unbelievable amount.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Which is worth definitely every penny of investment, and definitely worth every penny of blood, sweat, and tears.
So was a brand concept already there, or
no? So she had the idea that Middle Eastern was a untapped market in the sort of like casual dining space, like branded casual dining. There's nothing. Comptoir actually probably the only really well-known business that was also fairly new then.
Yes,
it was early-ish in its history, and I think BabaBoom was going for more the sort of honest burgers approach.
Yeah.
Small menu, great ingredients, small sites as well. So we formed all of that. We raised money. We eventually found a site on Battersea Rise, and we opened a tiny little 45 cover restaurant in like middle of August 2016.
Wow! And what was the one big learning point from that opening? Like, you'd obviously done openings before, right?
Yes, done openings,
but
and
when it's yours, it's a bit different.
Like, it's super different. I guess like ultimately the biggest thing, like I said, I was probably coming into this from a position of quite a lot of idealism. We want to do the training right. We want to treat people amazingly. We want to have, I've got my chance to do everything ourselves.
What you wanted.
Like we can set people up for success, and we're going to do inductions, and we're going to do. It's like
out the window.
No money for all that, is there? Like it. We had to open. We opened with not a significant amount of money in the bank, and month one goes by, and we maybe lost like 12 grand, and you're like, okay, cool. Like we've got a smaller number of months left until we have no money. Like, what are we going to do? And so you have to make money.
Yeah.
You have to turn things around. No opening makes money in its first couple of months, but like we have to have a business that not only is good and the quality is good and the service is good and the look is good, but that can make money. And that, I guess, I think until you work in an environment where you're closer to that line, it's really hard to grasp how important.
Because if you're working in another business, the clock finishes. Yeah, you go home,
and you don't really ever get. It was only till I was in, businesses that were smaller where like I really understood. I understood my P&L before as an operator, but actually that's where it ended. If I delivered profit, great.
Yeah.
But actually, if what the company is spending is more than the profit that me as operations is bringing in, we're losing money, and that's easy to do. And
it's interesting to have your to think about that, because lots of people move from ops to ops to ops and never get to that point.
Yeah.
And give that report at the end of the day.
Almost like getting the window open to the idea that there's more than just the P&L. There's there's the bank balance, and there's cash flow. Even it might be that your bank balance is totally fine. Yeah. But cash flow still will put you out of business at some point.
Yeah, but you've also got the piece of everything that's linked, like marketing and ops and res and all these little pieces. So
that really was the big thing. And I guess along with that then is we can't sit and talk about what we may do to change these things for a month and have loads of, you learn to make decisions and act and, make stuff happen at a pace that, again, coming from bigger companies, let's talk about project meetings and let's like plan a pilot and let's think about it next week.
Yeah.
And you don't have that luxury, and that was a really big learning curve because I'd spent 8 years at that point in big companies, and it was a very, very good lesson to learn. So yes, and like small business is hard, right? Especially small hospitality, or I think like whatever you want to call like businesses where like you've got a physical location. There's a lot of capex goes into that. There's a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of staff costs. It's a low margin business these days compared to maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But the other thing that we did that I think Eve would say as well, we should do differently again would be we were trying to be everything to everyone. We were lucky enough that we had a site with a license from like 8 a.m. till 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So we were trading it. We were brunch. We were late night. We had the idea that people would be buying kebabs at 2 a.m. on Battersea Rise after the pub.
Yeah.
They really weren't. But we were trying to, I was staffing it till 2:30 in the morning. Like we were
didn't have the operations tool telling you that.
We were doing, like awesome coffee, brunch, trying to do bottomless, as well as like normal, like we were doing a lot. And I think it was probably took us longer than it should have done to really get down to the essence of which market should we be serving. Because there's also a difference between like trying to create a brand thing that's like a scalable thing that is very clear. And if you want just to run the best restaurant in Battersea Rise, you might do a lot of those things, but then that's not going to work in London Bridge and Westfield and Bluewater and, the Bull Ring.
So how long does it take to get that template right?
I think it's longer than it should. And I think, again, that's part of the learning curve of making quicker decisions, knowing where to focus and where not to, when to cut your losses on something.
Yeah.
It took us a very long time to decide like what sort of coffee to do. And, we went from filter coffee only to espresso coffee to filter and espresso to Nespresso. And you're like, okay, like we shouldn't be wasting, like this is an inconsequential decision. We serve like 40 coffees a week.
Yeah.
Any of them is fine. And if people don't like it, then actually we're not built around brunch. But that probably only comes from...
Do you think, because it was a while ago when that happened, do you think that if you were in that position now, because there's so many consultants out there now, do you think that if someone was doing that and at that period, and it was like now, I know obviously it's harder now, but do you think that it would be easier to get help than it was back then? Because I think there was less assistance from consultants, or there were the big consultants were there, it would cost you a fortune.
Yeah.
But not accessible for the smaller.
Yeah, and I think like the thing that we spent money, I guess, on things like menu development and brand creation, which both were great. I think what we didn't probably do as part of that process was distill better what we are and who we're serving.
Yeah.
And we should have probably spent money doing that to be like, then you can put that lens over anything, be like, brunch.
Yeah.
Is it in focus or not? And if it's not, either we do the minimum viable product so we can trade in that time slot, or we just don't do it. And that would make things easier. Whereas when you're constantly like, well, this might make us some money, but we've got to do some work, and then like, okay, let's just try it. And then you'd spend a week, on all the faff that's really, like, none of this stuff is like a 1 hour job.
No.
So anything you're going to do or change takes focus off other things, and then it slows you down from maybe like when we were looking at other sites, and we probably lost time on those sort of just making quick, decisive decisions. But if you had a lens to say,
focus on
this is exactly what we are.
Yeah.
You can apply that to site finding. You can apply that to anything. So that's what I would want to do differently.
I think we had Michelle on the last podcast, and or not last podcast, the one just came out, and she used to work for a consultancy, and I was talking to her about it. That when everyone left that consultancy, restaurant consultancy, they all left with the Bible. And I met a lot of people that had left, and when I met them a couple of years back afterwards, they'd be on the laptop, and all of a sudden this Bible, which is this Word document, like how to do everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's the Bible that gets created,
and like and you need to have you need to have clarity. Which I think is something that I would I think what we were trying to do was to build a brand. If we were just trying to open 5 independent restaurants, we can do whatever we wanted. But I think what we were trying to do, and I think ultimately what lots of hospitality are trying to do is build a consistent brand. And it's very easy to get sidetracked. We've opened in this part of London. People maybe want this. And then you start doing that, and then you're like, okay, but that's different.
Detracting.
All those little micro things just get make businesses harder and harder to run.
So how many sites did you get to in the end?
3.
Okay, and Batty Rise.
Westfield and Islington.
What was inside Westfield? Or was it
inside Westfield Stratford? Yeah.
How was that? Sorry,
Super different.
Yeah,
like food
so
courts.
different.
So it was in the sort of like fast casual food court upstairs in Stratford.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
it's a beast.
completely different. And by that point, again, we'd moved, I think, very positively towards a more QSR-led concept. You know, much more akin to like Chipotle does Middle Eastern.
Yeah,
which I think was a good move, and that's definitely where we should have started. But if you'd have known that, you wouldn't have opened on Battersea Rise.
No.
You would have opened probably in central London,
and then
in the city or somewhere.
Yes.
But yes, I guess at the time also we were a bit constrained by, you know, costs a lot more to go into Zone 1.
Yes.
Whereas going into like Zone 3 or whatever it was, you know, yeah, it's a challenge when you're a small business because you have to also make decisions limited by the fact that we didn't go out and raise 5 million quid.
Yeah.
You know, you can be a restaurant brand that comes to the UK from America with 50 million quid war chest and you're going to open 20 restaurants a year and, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we were up against it from the start, but it was a fantastic ride.
And then when did it? How long that last?
So I was actively involved for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I guess we'd got to the point where it was growing, but like being totally open, like it was never gonna. At that point, wasn't going to generate enough money to start, I guess, self-funding new openings. And like, you know, growth had just been slower. So I decided to move on. Eve continued to run the business. And I moved into tech, which was a fascinating departure from like.
So where did you move into?
So I moved to a workforce management business called RotaGeek, which were more in sort of like food and beverage, QSR, and retail. But I mean, workforce management is workforce management.
Yeah, of course.
Shift workers in locations.
So you moved to the dark side for a bit.
I did, and it definitely was the light side. It was really interesting. Like as someone who'd been in operations and hospitality for like more than a decade.
Were you very much like speaking to when you're operating? You speak to them, I know your pain.
Yes, yeah, and like, and what I've also learned is lots of tech operators don't know the pain.
Yes,
they really don't. And lots do, but lots really don't.
Yeah,
they are selling software.
Yeah, they'll promise the earth.
Yeah, and they're selling software, and they may not even really understand the software that they are selling for, and like how the use case is and how it feels, and you know some of the pain with different things. RotaGeek were, you know, they were a 20-person startup at that point, and it was amazing. Like they're focused on sort of like the enterprise side of the retail and hospitality market. So I got to work on some very interesting projects, you know, with some big, you know, 10,000, 20,000 person retailers.
Oh, sweet.
Which is really interesting. Like again, a huge departure really from the fact that I've been in a 2-site, 3-site business on my own for years.
What was it like getting exposure to retail? Because retail and hospo are very different.
Yes, I mean, yes, and the way they run things is very different.
So different.
But I mean, there is a lot of similarities in like in the way people schedule and the way workforce management. It's very similar, and it's similar pains. I think what was really interesting for me is I really loved the choosing my own tech side from BabaBoom. Like that's where I kind of got into tech properly. Because before that, I could never choose anything. And so I think I was super intrigued by the whole tech industry.
What was the tech in BabaBoom?
Plan Day.
Okay.
And I'm still big on Plan Day.
Yeah.
Like,
saw them today.
If you're an independent small business, it's great.
Yeah.
So many features for what you get for the price you pay as well. Plan Day, Lightspeed, and yeah, I was an early customer with ePossibility back in the day,
nice.
Who I still speak to and who are fantastic.
Yeah, they are great.
And we were a nothing business. We were one site.
Yeah.
They came and did all the install, and that was fantastic. And what else did we use? We would design my nights, book a table for a bit.
Yeah.
Qdini. Do you remember Qdini?
Oh, yeah.
The queue management. We were early in Qdini when they were like a big thing. Trying to think what else. No stock system. We did it ourselves on Excel.
Okay.
They're quite expensive back then.
Yeah,
it was early. Must have been early for Market Man, and there wasn't a lot off the shelf stuff.
Either,
there wasn't a lot of stuff like Forth. You know, it was prohibitively expensive for any of those things for a small business. And yeah, like Lightspeed were great back then.
So were you Lightspeed L series back then, or was it K? Was it?
Yes, it was the one that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, the L series. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Iken2.
Oh, so Iken2. So
It was- sorry.
it was actually Iken2
It
to
was
start.
Iken2,
Oh,
yes.
amazing. Okay, nice,
Yeah.
nice. So it's before even Lightspeed.
Yes, it was
So you were-
Lightspeed were entering the country.
Yes.
But Iken2 was the one we bought through
Nice.
ePossibility.
Yeah. So I mean, we had Robbie on. It was really interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
And the story of like he remember he was telling me he brought Iken2 with one of iPads to a trade show, and the guys from Iken2 came in like, what's all this other shit here doing here?
But Iken2 was like fantastic.
That was awesome. Awesome tool.
And like Beth and Josh and everyone, it was like so good for us as a small business.
Yeah.
And I still highly recommend them. And like, I recommend people all the time. Like,
Yeah. Me too, to be honest with you.
It's such a great business. So yeah, it was.
They
still fairly
to
early
be
in
fair,
tech,
they just on that, they still know bits that Lightspeed don't know, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
we were asked to do it for a client about to do something, for a button to be added. Everyone was just bamboozled. I just asked, and they were like, "It's easy. Just put me in touch."
And I was talking to someone today actually about like the thing that ePossibility get right, and there's just like a service culture.
Yeah.
That I know they're not a pure tech company, so they've managed to create it, but that you don't get with lots of tech companies. When you get
It's the understanding.
when you get your customer success or your sales from a tech company, you don't often actually get the deep understanding service element. And I mean, back then
I think he was saying there was like 300 SOPs or something like that, like crazy for every new client. Like it's just they go through so much to understand.
And
everything.
and then maybe it's changed now, but it was incredibly affordable for the service, and it's So that was a game. It was really a game changer for us.
I mean, now it's obviously like to be K series, right? So it's
But I mean, it's the same thing still. Under the hood, really.
Yes,
like, it's great.
Yeah.
And I used it again a few years later when it was is it K series?
Yes.
Yeah. But no, I think that was probably the most of the tech we had, because there wasn't order and pay and none of that ordering stuff existed really, and we were small. We were small. I don't remember what it's called, but we had like click and collect. That was a standalone thing. But we were early delivery. Like this was the start of delivery.
Yeah.
Start of Uber Eats. This was back in the day.
Oh my god, there were lots of challenges back then. With I think we had a client that were first on like Uber, and they called our office and said, can you just order as much as you like, because you get £20 voucher. And the guys ended up probably getting something like £70 worth of gift vouchers because it just completely broke. They're like, Adam, I'm not having lunch. Like, we ordered lunch 20 minutes ago. Where is it? And then I was like, trust me, you're going to get another voucher. What do you mean? And then they must have had like 100 quid worth of vouchers, because back then you didn't just get one voucher, you continued to get vouchers. So they were I was like, look, check your email. And they were like, oh.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we're sorted for like if the lunch comes.
Yeah.
So in the beginning it was an interesting one, but. Yeah, back in the day, it was a challenge, wasn't it?
That was back when you were putting your delivery tickets through the till yourself.
Yeah. Some people all the Starship Enterprises it went on to. So you had Just Eat, Uber, Deliveroo, Henchman.
But I hope no one's doing that still.
You'd be surprised. There are probably some still doing it. I think the challenge is that the connectivity piece there isn't. It depends what you do. Like Deliveroo's expensive, Urban Piper's expensive.
Stream orders is that now? Humans are very expensive.
Yes, they are.
But connectivity is a problem. Like connectivity, business, again and again and again, different businesses I go to, like connectivity problems, getting enough. And I know this is your area, you know a lot more than me, but like everyone struggles with it.
Yeah, 100%. I think Robbie will also say this as well. We always have resilience, always have something fail over, and we speak to a lot of different companies on the tech side through Captive, and some of them say, oh yeah, plug the Wi-Fi in. I was like, yeah, but everything's stored locally, right? So if the internet fails over, no guest can log onto the Wi-Fi. Yeah, the client will be fine about it. So we tell the client, and they're like, what do you mean no one can log onto the Wi-Fi? I was like, we can do something else for you if you want. And they're like, no, we'll figure it out. So, but yeah, some people have. I mean, London specifically, central London. There are benefits now in London. There are better providers out there. The challenge we have is sometimes you're guided by the IT company.
Yeah.
And they want to make their money, which grates on me a little bit. But anyway, I can talk about that forever. Let's talk about next. What happened next?
What happened next? I think probably I'd spent a long time in hospitality. I think I missed some of I don't know, like tech is great. And, I don't see like that door necessarily closed for my future. For gonna have to work for another 30 years probably. There's a lot of career left. But I think there is something quite special about like hospitality operations and I guess the impact you can have on people. I don't really mean guests. Like I like the service part of hospitality, but teams and the impact you can have on individual people, and support them to do more. And it's not always a hugely privileged group of people. People often fall into it. You start as a waiter, KP, chef, and work your way up. And so there's something really purposeful about.
It's nice in growth as well.
Exactly. So I think I missed a bit of the realness, and also tech businesses are great, but it's a different sort of business proposition. Many of them are not profitable businesses, and so there's an element of I like real business. I like the challenge of we have to make money to survive.
Yeah,
and do it at a quality high enough where people like it. I find that a very interesting balance.
I think that I spoke to me the other day. It was about it's about living in the uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So that's quite a nice term for ops, isn't it? Because you've got to just live in the uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you've got to do both things. You've got to do amazing, but make money out of it, and it's nearly impossible.
So then it left tech to go to
Ballie Ballerson. And I'd known the founders for some while.
Did you start by cleaning the balls first? And then...
I didn't actually, but the clean the balls there's a very, very good Instagram video. There's a whole machine.
Is there?
Special machine.
Oh man, I used to work in a soft play when I was much younger, and my job was to clean the balls.
So you've probably seen the machine.
No, it wasn't a machine. I was literally all the balls.
There's a machine. It's like a $5,000 machine, but there is a machine.
They couldn't afford the $5,000 machine.
So I moved over. I moved over there at a point when they were one venue, about to go hopefully to 3 venues, and I was only with them for about 18 months, and we did that, and it was fantastic, and I guess it was, it's the business. It's been a tough time for late night hospitality and really competitive socialising. Yeah. So at the point when we weren't going to open any more venues, I decided to move on again. But I mean, the idea and the product that it delivered was fantastic.
Yeah,
and yes, I think competitive socialising and that whole arena has had a hard couple of years, more than most.
Well, there's more competition now as well, which is more challenging, right?
But taking it to Edinburgh and Cardiff, and the London venue is still a giant. It was an amazing sort of experience.
Yeah. Did you learn? Was it different learning there? Because were they on the growth pattern? I mean, competitive socialising is a bit different to traditional venues as well, right?
Yeah, and I guess that was it was already a bigger business than than BabaBoom, because it was just a higher turnover business, and had some private equity investment. So in terms of feeling when it was Eve and I, and we were sort of starting from nothing, it was very startup. This felt a lot more structured, so actually I got a lot out of the experience as well by I got to sit on the board for the first time.
Oh, awesome.
Got to understand that dynamic. Was much closer to the the financial side as well. So one of the things that I've loved about being in smaller businesses, you're just close to the decision making, and really got a great schooling in raising money and even really boring things, but they're so important if you want to be senior in especially ops, but in business. Cash flow and
understanding, I guess.
Understanding of more than just I've got a site that makes some money and that's all fine. I got a huge exposure to that and got to have that within my remit, which was great. I think we were really lucky that I think one of the things you were mentioning before was around how do you take it to Edinburgh or to Cardiff when you've got one site in London. But I mean, actually, the foundations of the team that we had in London and the commitment and the sort of, actually made that quite easy.
I have to say, we work with a few different competitive socialising. It is a different beast. Yeah. And it's nice to see, the ones I've been to or the gyms I've spoken to are super invested.
Yeah.
Because it's not in a traditional restaurant environment, there's the tips and then so on. And in these environments, there's the bar.
Yeah.
And then either you've just booked your stuff and you're in. So it's really interesting to see, because the one we went to a while ago, everyone was pumped, and they made everyone else pumped up, and it was just a really cool experience to see that everyone was invested.
But it's also, I think, what's really different is if you know, and you do know in restaurants to a certain degree now with the prevalence of bookings in general, but actually, if you know exactly how busy you're going to be on an evening, you can start that shift in the way that it needs to be done, and you can create your whole night, your rota, everything, in a much more effective way, because that they're all based on pre-booked revenue. So it's very different to right, we think today's going to be really quiet, so we'll have 3 people on, and we get
And then you
absolutely
get slammed.
slammed, and it's a disaster, and everyone hates their life. Like, that just doesn't really happen. It
Mm.
definitely didn't in Ballie,
Yeah.
because you know how busy you're going to be. You know, also you become expert at delivering this one experience
Yeah.
for people, and to actually become quite easy to make people have a great time. Whereas again, in restaurants, like, there's so many dynamics at play. Why are people there?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they ordering? How busy is the rest of the shift? Did we know it was going to be this busy? Has something broken? Is the Wi-Fi down?
Yeah.
All these things that, like, I guess, feel a bit less in control of.
Mm.
Whereas it's a lot easier to, like, curate the experience, I think, mainly because you know what's coming.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. You're absolutely right. All the pre-booked is you've got a complete idea of how busy it's going to be.
Yeah.
And
And people are coming with a certain mindset of what they're going to be doing, which I think is different than, like, we could be going for dinner for any reason.
Yeah.
And it could be a good reason, it could be a bad reason, it could be a non-reason. And the waiter isn't really in control of what happens.
No. But as soon as you walk into that competitive social
Yeah.
venue,
If you're going to,
it's set, isn't it?
yeah, if you're going
theme is
to
set.
even, like, play darts
Yeah.
or play mini golf, we all know why you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not here for, you know, a breakup.
No.
It's really unlikely.
Yeah.
Whereas in a restaurant, that could be the case.
Yeah.
Or that could be happening next to you.
Yeah.
Or, you know, so I think it's a different mindset. People are coming to have a good time.
Yeah.
For an event. And just the fact that people are on a experience, whether it's a day out, a night out, it's a different vibe.
Mm.
And I think that does make things easier. Yeah, it was a fantastic. Yeah, I'm.
It's actually taking you from all different types of
Yeah,
roles,
and
isn't it?
I don't know whether everyone in all their bits of their career sees every bit as a big learning bit, but for me, they've all been incredibly useful.
Yeah.
But they've all been quite varied. They've all been quite varied as well. So
Yeah.
You know.
So, I mean, literally, one of the questions here was like building. You've led teams of all sizes, startup from hundreds of staff. What was your approach to building a strong company culture and keeping teams motivated in the hospitality industry, especially with high turnover? Right, that's another challenge.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is try not to have high turnover.
Yeah.
Like, and it is, I think, you know, it does. I do believe it's possible, and I think, you know, yeah, I think it's possible. I think businesses that still have really high turnover, like, there is probably fundamentally something, something not right.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I don't think there's anything, you know, crazy different. I think you need to be a, like, very, like, I guess my way, not the way, my way
Yeah.
is, you know, being open and honest and transparent, and, you know, that means that you're very approachable. And, like, I think my team and, you know, the wider ops team, which, you know, in Comptoir is like 500, would see me as that. You know, wherever I am or not even am, but just, like, someone can text me or call me, and that's totally cool. I think you have to be, I like to be very consistent. Like, I've worked with leaders who are not consistent. You know, one day things are great, the next day they're not great. One day this is important, the next day that's now important. No one ever knows which way to go. Like, I'm very big on, you know, we set a direction for the whatever day, week, quarter. That's where we're going. That's what we're doing, and, like, that doesn't change. Like, even if things get marginally better or worse, like, we said that's where we're going. And yes, there obviously are times where you correct and change where you're going, but ultimately, I think consistency and clarity is important. Like, if I'm trying to tell my ops team what they need to tell their general managers and what their general managers need to tell their teams, I can't change that very often, because that takes time to get through, and you know, it's going to need a certain amount of repetition. So, like, I think you have to just be very clear and transparent, and then, like, repeat it again and again and again and again and then again, so that people are all on the same page. It's really hard to get information around these businesses. You're talking, you know, we've got restaurants from Cheshire to Exeter.
Wow. How many locations?
22.
Wow. And wide ranging.
Yes. So, you know, it is not easy to be like, oh, I'll just pop and tell the Cheshire team this thing that's important. It's a day to go there and back, and then you're only there for 2 hours. So,
is there a communications piece in there?
Well, one of the questions you wrote down was around what's my is it favorite tech?
Yeah.
Favorite tech, and I think something that I'm not sure what I would. Well, I know. Yeah, I think communications is an unsolved problem in hospitality. Like, my workplace was doing it to a certain degree. A few other people are now creeping into the market, but solving that for distributed teams, multi-site teams, shift workers, Slack is not quite the answer.
No.
I don't believe
And it's
WhatsApp's the
expensive
answer.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
you do need to start paying for it, really.
Yeah.
I've looked at it 3 times now, and like £8 a month or something minimum per
Yeah.
person.
So on that note, I saw I'm going to give him a free ad space now because I saw him today at the show. So Chris is mentioning, I think they're sponsoring his podcast at the moment, which is ZenZap, which is that alternative. You've seen that
Yes,
platform?
I haven't seen it in. But yes, I guess
we've had a few clients just go onto it.
All of those new entrants that have suddenly
Yeah.
popped up, and I'm trying to meet a few at the moment just because it is an interesting space, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that you need to be the one doing it and do everything.
No.
There's a few that are doing like they're trying
All
to
in
pick
one.
off everything in operations or everything in hospitality. I don't know if that is the route, but really good comms. And I guess the thing I'm very excited about is like the UDA type stuff.
Yes.
Because it's going to be that plus some really clever stuff as well. And I think that's, for the future, that's where my bet would be if I was making a hospitality tech bet. There's something that's going to come out of comms and AI and automation.
Yeah.
Because that's a pain point I think loads of people have. And you might have whatever you've got at the moment, your Workplace or Work Vivo or one of those, but you need something. But so many people I talk to just have WhatsApp.
Yeah, and it's massive in WhatsApp. I mean, so we have a support channel that it's a WhatsApp, and it goes to a chat platform, which is what we use for support and customer support and so on. And it's really funny because people try to. It's a Twilio WhatsApp jobby, right?
Yeah.
So you can't add it to a group.
Uh-huh.
So they like hospitality operators like creating a giant group so everyone can fire questions, but you can't do it on ours. So I just added you to 5 other groups. Can you? I'm like, no, it doesn't work. Yeah, so you just get them to WhatsApp. It's fine, and it's really funny because there's a frustration. I mean, for us it goes into the whole flow. So we've got an automated process. Yeah. So rather than for them, it feels like for us we get to see the whole conversation, which is really nice.
But also, you don't need if you put that into a group of 20 general managers. You're going to disturb 18 of them or 19 of them at any one point.
Yeah.
And the distraction, whatever all the stats are about, like people are distracted X amount of times per hour, and it takes.
Well, there's a guy that a colleague of mine called Mark. He's doing some an awards thing soon, and he used to run a ton of pubs. Mm-hmm. He said, I go to bed at night and I'd forget to put my phone on silent, and he'd go throughout the night, like it literally he'd be like 50 different groups. And I also spoke to another partner of ours the other day. He's like, my head chef refused to go on WhatsApp. And I was like, why? He goes, well, he told me just buy him a phone, which means he can turn the phone off at the weekends when he's not working, or just I'm not going to use WhatsApp. And so he's like, okay, well, we'll just get you a pay-as-you-go phone and get you on it.
I don't love it. But I'm still searching for the right solution. WhatsApp is prevalent in most businesses I've worked with in the last decade. But I really wish it wasn't.
I think the challenge you have there is the compliance piece and everything else. And like I was talking to someone the other day, and when someone gets in your hospitality business, and then you've got personal mobile numbers flying out all over the place. It's crazy. Anyway, so okay, let's jump onto that. So tech and operations. You're known to be a tech aficionado in hospitality. That's my researcher. How do you decide which technologies to implement in restaurant operations? Can you share an example of tech implementation that significantly improved operations, or one that failed, and what you've learned about the intersection of tech and human operators?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I am different to most people when I buy technology now. I think
well, to be fair, you've had a nice overview of corporate versus startup versus that, and different pods and different operational view. So you've actually got a nice piece of picking the puzzle out of what's
I think
there.
The thing I used to get told a lot how things were, and how things will be if I use the software, and yes, it does this, it does that. I guess what I've absolutely learned from being on the tech side as well is there's a lot of missed context. So someone might, with all best endeavors, say it does this, but not really understand what this is. And also, unless I've seen it do that, I don't always believe that it will do that.
Yeah.
But I think so for me, the things how do I pick tech companies basically? I like to work. Well, I want to work tech companies that I trust. I think if you have trust that what they're doing is good and right, and when they say stuff, they can show you, and when they say they'll do something, they deliver it on time. there's a lot of those. So like for me, the people and the partnership and what the company is like is super important, because I think that covers a lot of those problems off. Like if there are tech companies that are out to make any sale, and there are ones that want to make the right sale. And there's loads that want to make the right sale, and they'll tell you, we're not a good fit. But there are some that will sell anything to get a signature on a contract.
The ones where we still wear the suits.
Yeah. So like the people are really important for me. And like, I guess, where are they going? So, if you have a reservation system, if they're going into a way where you're like, oh, we never want to go that way, or, actually they're going to stop developing the product because actually they're big in whatever, marketing as well. And actually that's probably going to become the bigger part of their company. Like it's going to limit my development of reservations over the next 5 years. So I guess like knowing where people are going long term, like what do they see the product in 5 or 10 years?
Yes.
Because again, like moving technology is hard. Even if you might not think it's hard for, multi-site businesses where, there's no money for retraining and project management.
I remember walking with you and Chris. I think we must have spoken about change management for about 15
minutes. Yeah. And like, yes, and there isn't really a solution for that at the moment. Like not many tech companies can offer that level of change management and support. And it's really hard if you don't know the business. I think like there are like, non-negotiables nowadays though around like, does it look and feel nice and modern, like people can use it without having to be trained? I think the days of needing big training programs for tech should be nearly behind us. Most things can be picked up by most people pretty quickly, and integration. Like again, my eyes were opened previously with the idea that someone can say they've got an integration or that it's live or that it's working, and it is someone dragging a file onto an SFTP server every evening. And like, you need to understand what people mean when they say certain things.
Is it fully integrated?
Yes.
We have one integration with our platform where we have to manually upload a data file to their servers, and then they pull it down and import it. And they charge the customer for the purpose of it. I was just and then the client emailed me saying they would have charged us X amount of money per month for the integration. I said, that's weird. We didn't know. So I was like, I don't know, I just download and upload it myself. And they responded with, that's probably what they're doing anyway, because it's taking their time. They haven't built the flow, but we spent time building it. So there's lots of interesting conversations.
So I think like just really going a bit deeper. I think,
how does it work? That's a good question, right?
Like, can you show me? And really few people that I've seen do in their buying process, if you're the hospitality operator, do the sort of like stage where they don't, after a demo, maybe even after a second demo, but like, do they do like a stage where they go, here are our 20 most common scenarios that we do, whether it's building a rota, doing a discount on an order and pay system. Can you show me how it works in your system? And they go through all of these most common things, because you will find one or two things that you're like, that's not what I assumed. A lot of assumption going on in tech.
Because some of it looks the same. If you're moving like to Square, to Lightspeed, to whatever.
But then you find out that someone actually doesn't handle service charge at all like you expect, is a big deal, for example. So I think like, can I see it? Can you show me? Here's our list of scenarios. I would always want to ask people for scenarios.
I think you should build a little list for. We can talk about that later.
That would be cool. So like that's sort of what I'm looking for. I think the things I really like, and I don't have loads of examples for you, but things I really like to see at the moment are where we're like eliminating things for either the teams or guests. So like we have, I think it's something like a couple of thousand across the group unanswered phone calls a month. It could be salesmen, could be guests, but unanswered. So like, can I put a bit of tech in that will answer every call and at least ascertain, should it go to the restaurant or should we just close it down? But like, I can with AI now. So like, I think the things that we should be doing is stuff like that, where it just makes everyone's life a little bit better for a little bit of money and no downside.
Well, you could, to be fair, I mean, thinking about that, most phone systems nowadays allow you to store a phone book. So if it was a supply, you could probably load all suppliers and do that to that extent of the kitchen straight away. and redirect other people
Yeah.
to whatever. If it's
But
not, if it's not known.
you could do it with automations now, where it's
Yeah,
very simple. But yeah, there's a couple of people doing that sort of like AI-led phone stuff, which I think is, that is low-hanging fruit for just answer more.
But even converting it into a reservation. Now, we spoke to another platform that have got an online chat system that's plugged into a few res platforms. And they originally just had a chat platform, and then they realized to plug it into res. So they've got these like 5 or different scenarios to plug into res. You can ask questions, usual stuff, with a bit of AI answering yes, you know, and now they're looking at the phone thing, which is super clever because you've got I think Big Table Group use I forget. There's an American company. I forget what they're called now. It'll come to me later, but they use that for all of their sort of like AI, and it's really expensive. There isn't anything for the lower market to get into that.
Do you know the team at Adsalt?
No.
I think they're pretty new. Adsalt.ai.
Yeah.
Really cool phone AI.
Nice.
And just building those automations on the back of I guess some clever AI. Don't really understand AI, but like what it will stop. Yeah, the phone will be answered and at least triage to where should it go.
Nice. So instead of it actually just taking a booking, it will just triage it where it needs to go.
And like take the booking and send it on email to the site or integrate to the reservations if you can.
Yeah.
But like just making sure that phone call is not dropped.
Yeah.
Because as soon as it's dropped,
so many.
If you conservatively worked out like if 10% of those were bookings that you were losing to other people, there was a lot of money there.
Yeah.
I think those are the areas that I really like to see problems being solved. I guess when you, rather than things that have gone super well, and you mentioned change management, but I've done some larger scale sort of projects where, the change management side is so important. Like I remember being back in Nando's this is actually a good one, not a bad one, but I remember being back in Nando's back in like 14 or 15. We brought in we called it online ordering. Anyway, first time you could do online ordering and come to the restaurant and collect it.
Yeah.
And that was the start.
That was with FlyPay, wasn't it? Yes, or when Just Eat, but was it FlyPay or was it Just Eat?
I think it was back on FlyPay.
Yeah.
But like that was new.
Because we had Carey on ages ago. I talked to him about that one. I remember when that
like
happened.
This whole bit of like ordering online, receiving it in the restaurant, making it, and then someone would come and collect it.
Yeah.
But like the investment that Nando's did in like awareness, training, every general manager and assistant manager came to a place on the same day to learn how to do it with, rooms of tills set up, like just that level of like, but we'd already been on like a 6-month journey of knowing where the project was, what was happening, where was it, like Nando's do change management really well. And it's still an example that I talk about to people, but you have to invest in it.
Yes.
You can't just buy a workforce management system and swap it over and expect...
But do you think the rise of better training tools that are out there now will help with that too? So
and like I guess the fact that we're all much more tech savvy in general.
Yes.
So that like, you send me a load of videos to watch and I can do that on my phone and I can do that easily and I'm used to doing that and there's probably an LMS platform I can do it on. Absolutely, definitely.
But you can also do like some of the newer tools allow you to really understand how many people actually read the video, watched it all, asked the questions, surveys afterwards. I remember going to a client, and I don't remember what LMS platform they're using, and they sat there, and it was a new site opening. They were like this, and they were falling asleep, and then the video ended, and they'd finished their compliance. And
I guess the thing that feels like it doesn't add value, but I think does, is the idea that it's more just that. So like, how do you get 10,000 people to know that this project is happening? Here's where the stage is. Here's what's going good.
I'm in awe of how they were able to keep everyone up to date.
And like, I know they did a workforce management project recently, but like they were creating videos during the pilot of just what's going on, how it's working, what are the pros, what are the cons.
So how are they communicating?
I guess down through all their teams, but like with professionally created video content that just tells a story. And I think people want to, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so taking people on that journey at all levels, and maybe, it doesn't get to, the very bottom newest KP, but actually if your whole management team is on board with, I know this is coming.
Yeah.
That makes the change so much easier.
Yeah.
In a very unquantifiable way.
That makes everyone invested into what's happening, right?
Yeah. So I think
I've never heard of that.
But it just doesn't happen.
No.
And then you put a system in and you wonder why everyone's resistant and, doesn't use it properly. And, yes, that is.
So was the outcome of that went super well?
Online delivery.
Because they were one of the they were one of the first. They were super early, super early.
It went really well. It was like launch day was almost like a bit of a letdown because it just started being part of the business from day one, and there was no problem. Wow. And that is just very different to what you normally see, which is stuff is done last minute and
tough shit.
And just happens.
Yeah,
people don't even know about it. There's a trial that's happened in one tiny corner of a business for a few months a year ago, and then it gets rolled out and happens overnight. So
it's like changing a button on the pause.
Yes, yeah. And I guess that the last thing you said was, what have you learned about the intersection of tech and human operations?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this anyway recently. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, most new tech now is better than old tech. Like, you can go and buy new order and pay software, and yes, they'll all be better than maybe what you would have had 10 years ago. Or if you had nothing, anything will be better than nothing. But it's nothing without the people. And I know that sounds really obvious, but if you bring in a new workforce management system because you want to save labor, you will probably not save labor unless you change the way you manage how you deploy your hours, how your team think about managing their hours. Maybe the new tool makes that easier, maybe it doesn't, but the tool will do nothing without people changing their behavior. If you want everyone to do auto scheduling, but people don't buy into that, they just won't do it.
I think that's a big word, the buy-in. The buy-in is the biggest piece, right?
Yeah. And that is, that is the hard bit. Tech companies can't always help with that. And the operation, the business, hospitality businesses don't always work out how to do that. And it's really hard. But that is the thing that, tech is important to be part of operations. Tech is the thing that will make us all more efficient. We're all going to have to be more efficient. The world is getting harder and harder for us to make money. Tech needs to play a bigger part in hospitality. I'm sorry if anyone doesn't agree, but it definitely does. But people need to also be brought on that journey to make it happen. For me, it is inconceivable that the entire hospitality industry will not have some form of at-table ordering or assisted ordering or payment at table option. Think about the fact, how mental is it that the way you pay your bill in 99.9% of restaurants is a human being asks a human being to walk across a building, print out a piece of paper, bring me back that, then go pick up a physical card machine, bring it over to me at my table, and have me tap my phone against it. That is not an efficient process for either party.
No, I'll tell you something that's embarrassing for me today. I was with a colleague of mine going to HRC, and his oyster needed topping up. So I went to the oyster machine, and he tapped, and then it said, insert your card. And I went, I don't even know what my PIN is. I had no idea. So I was looking through I opened the app, trying to get the app. He was like, no, we can go to the off license next door. And I'm like, no, be fine. I'm whipping out cards. I don't remember the last time, but you're right. In regards to tech, I spoke to someone else the other day that said to me, it should be the customer's choice.
Yes.
Let them, if they want to call the waiter up and have a chat and have a bit of banter and a conversation, let them do it. If they want to pay by QR, let them do it. If they want to order by QR, let them do it.
I think the best example, it's pay at table is this example, but the permit rooms now, so their step, unless I've misunderstood it, but I've experienced it about 3 times, is you ask for the bill.
Yeah.
They go get you your digital bill tray. So it's a bill tray with a QR code. Just printed on it. So they've got a bill tray for every table.
Yeah.
It says on it, very lovely, scan, pay, slip away.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I love that.
And they pop a couple of Indian sweets on there.
Yeah.
And they bring it over, they pop it down the table. This is how you can check out. If it doesn't work for you, let me know. Bring you the card machine.
Yeah.
And it's lovely. And it gives me the choice to just pay on my own terms when I want. It's no more complex than tapping
But that's messaging, and I think it's very different to I think others.
Where it's just on the table and it's sort of
in your face sometimes.
And it still is a chance to say thank you, goodbye.
Yes.
Here's your bill. Thank you very much for coming.
I love that though, but that's the messaging is
But that's just I love that. That's using tech
in the right way.
Yeah. And so that anyone who thinks that we will not have the option of ordering at table, and maybe it's not order and pay, maybe it is order and pay at the end still, but anyone who thinks that is not going to be a big part of the entire hospitality industry, I think is fundamentally wrong. customers do want the option.
Yeah, I think we try and help when we speak to people, are saying that just turn on drinks, see how that goes, and if you really want to go the next stage, do food, or just do certain food, or just do whatever you want, just see the differences. And I think people we've spoken to who take that journey really see a huge change. Because my wife likes dirty martini. If the waiter isn't available, and by the time that her food comes, she's I'm done. I don't want it.
So the thing that I one of our biggest bits of customer like friction, and we're getting a couple of thousand surveys filled a month, is not being able to get my waiter's attention. So cool. That is, I don't want to sound defeatist, but that's going to be hard to solve when labour costs are going up.
Yep.
Like, it is harder for us to have more people all the time on the floor to serve those tiny peaks. But in those peaks, when your waiter is taking an order over there, if I could just very straightforwardly add 2 more beers to my order in 4 clicks, and then they arrive, from a runner, 3 minutes later, that is added value.
I 100% agree. But also, I went to Lavo, which is by the Botry Hotel, more high-end restaurant, really cool. And they had QR codes on every table, but on a little wooden thing, with a little thing, and underneath had table numbers, so they knew which tables it went at, and they just popped it down before service started. So at dinner service, they probably wouldn't have it. But lunch service, they had it.
I think there's something about, if you want people to be aware that it's a thing that is part of your experience, it being like, so I would imagine it like, I bring the menus over to you as a waiter when you sit down, and I give you your menus, and probably let's imagine I put the thingy on your table and say, like, just so you know, like, if you can't get hold of me, you can actually add anything to your bill just here. Super quick.
You can take that out of shot now.
So, but that's
I like that messaging.
That's the way you tell that story.
So
that's just something I love at the moment.
No, I agree. It's really interesting to see more and more people adopt it. But we're going to go on to ops.
Yes.
So let's tell the story. Why did you start the community? How do you see it making a difference? I mean, listen, it's interesting. Listen, there's the marketing group that's out there, which is pretty big. There is some form of Opsy. There's like an Opsy WhatsApp group that's out there. There's a bit there and here.
I guess I'm not challenging any of those things.
No.
I think the
more the better, to be honest with you.
The problem, I guess I have got a problem with in some ways, is there's loads of things. If you have £400 to spend on a ticket to an event, or you are in an elite group of ops directors or founders or marketing directors or HR directors, to network. But like, if you're a general manager, an area manager, or even if you just work for a smaller business where you don't feel as innate, you don't get invited to these things, what is there for operators? Like, there is nothing. There will be hundreds of thousands of people who work in management, multi-site management in the UK. Most of them spend 50 hours a week inside their 4 walls of one building. A few thousand, 10,000, 20,000 spend all of their time in a region of restaurants or bars or hotels or whatever. And they have no access to outside views. How was the trade in Westfield last week in general? They know their site had a shit week. They don't always get the footfall data. They don't always get what if they want to know like how things are going? What if their boss is giving them a hard time? Like, I think there is so much value, and I've seen so much value in my career in meeting new people. Like, 4 of my last jobs have come from conversations with people who've connected me to people. I just think there's a huge bit, and like I said at the start, like, it took me a long time to get confident enough to just go to events, and probably to get senior enough. So I think there's just, I would like to try and democratize the world of networking, and I guess the niche I think is least represented well is like hospitality ops. So that's what Ops Club is hopefully going to be about. We're super early. Like, we're running our first event next week on Tuesday. We've sold a good number of tickets. Hopefully those.
And it's going to a charity as well, right?
The ticket sales, they're £10 a ticket for only a payment away.
Perfect charity.
And again, part of the reason I want to do that is I want people to come who want to come.
Yes.
And so if you're spending a tenner, I think you're sort of psychologically committing that I've done a good thing. I'm going to go. And we'll see.
I think it's really important, generally community completely. There's lots of other, there's Tech on Toast, there's Hospitality Titans. There's nothing really for ops that's out there. And as I said, there are a few other things here and there, but I think previously there was a Slack channel and stuff, but this is nice to see, because there is and also it's a safe space, and now people are happy to offer assistance and questions. I think that's awesome.
But I don't buy into the fact that we're all competitors.
Yeah,
we're ultimately, there's no point having a high
all
street,
driving the same machine, right?
And there's no point having one restaurant on one high street. You need to have 10 restaurants so people come and it's a destination. And actually, really, we're all just trying to get more people to come out and be in hospitality venues more often. But also, I think what I really like and what I want to create and what I need to access more is assistant managers, general managers, and area managers, because those people don't live on my LinkedIn.
No.
I've got good access to like heads of ops and ops directors and founders and owners, and that's the majority of the members so far. I now need to get them to find their teams and their people, and force people a little bit out of their comfort zone. But I think the magic for me
because the visibility of area managers is stuck there, as you said. They're there, so it's interesting to bring them into.
And I sort of feel like the beauty is, a super interested general manager getting to speak to an ops manager from a different company, and them to learn a bit from each other. Like, how does this company do things?
Yeah.
Oh, but you think about it differently. Just
and one thing I will say, because I was talking to someone the other day, we're doing an event on Thursday, and I put in the comment, I was like, no talks, no chats, or it was just pure networking. And I had like 17 messages from people saying, oh my god, no, thank god there's no talks. It's just bring people together, let them chat, and we've got a whole mixed bag of different people coming, which is pretty cool. Bearing in it's last minute, that's going to be cool. But I think what I said to someone today was, I want to do. We're going to start doing more events on the captive stuff, but bring people together, but not necessarily ops, but probably marketing stuff. And I said, I was speaking to them about it. I was like, I don't want to do something where you sit on a panel and it's sponsored. We'll bring it together. We'll bring people in, but we'll ask the question: what do you want to talk about? And I think something that you could potentially do with what you're doing is, if there are, when that survey goes out before everyone comes, or for the next event you do, what are the hot topics? And then you could put it on the board. And for 10 minutes, just chat about it, and people can be like, and then they end up leaving with insight. So I think I did a Tenzo event a little while ago, and they were literally, it was 10 minutes. They were like, 10 minutes, we're just going to talk about this, and these are challenges that everyone's talking about, and then go to network. Which is really nice. I think that's something you could really do.
Yes, and we will definitely, there's no point us doing this if we end up just doing events where we run panels on what are the industry pressures at the moment.
Exactly.
Like, no one's got any interest.
No, but there's always going to be, if you can get people if you can ask the difficult questions, and then sit in the uncomfortable, which is a really good term, and then other people won't. The people that they go away with going, oh, hold on, I've been asking about that for the last 7 weeks, and no one's given me the answer.
And I guess again, it's a bit of a test run, because we're running our first event next week, but. So I've actually, because networking is hard.
Yes.
So I have a facilitator, she's a professional actress, and coach and speaker, and she's very comfortable with crowds and with talking to people, and it's not something that I'm very comfortable with either. But what we're going to do is, I guess, properly facilitate the fact that it won't be awkward. It won't be like me having to approach you and a few people. We'll make it really easy for people to feel like they can just.
Is it speed?
Speed dating?
Yeah.
That's the concept in my mind is that
I love that though.
Basically, it should be like speed dating.
I went to a tech. Was it I think Hospitality Tech did it last year with like one of the stands. Where you come in and literally they just move people around. That's a great idea.
And then you can have 10 conversations in an hour, and then you can spend another hour chatting to people. Then you've got 10 friends. And like, it's very, very lovely. In our industry, we can all talk to someone for 10 minutes.
Yes,
and
easy.
You'll learn something, and I just think that the hard bit is getting yourself to go.
Yeah. You're gonna have little suggestion cards. You said little suggestion cards on the table. So we're like, what are we going to talk about? Oh, you could do that.
But like that's again, you just need little ways to make it.
I love
easier
that.
For people.
Because some people are a little bit quiet and whatever it might be.
And the other thing that we've done, I think it was a good move, is I've done 2 for 1 tickets. If you bring a friend.
Oh, I saw that. That was very nice.
Again, sold quite a lot of those. I think because people, it's a lower, again, like come with your mates.
Because then there's no barrier. I like that. That's cool. That's really cool.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that's exciting. So when it well, it will be past by the time we
Oh yes,
this airs,
it will,
so,
Tuesday the 25th.
Yeah, nice. That's exciting.
It'll be cool.
First of many. Amazing. So listen, I'm going to give you a round of applause. They can hear it. You can't hear it. Thank you so much. This was super interesting because there's all different areas that you've been in, and giving you the level of sort of experience where you are. And I love that I like the branding as well. It's pretty nice, to be fair. So nice job on that one. It's really interesting to see and also it's nice to see that there's now going to be somewhere like a safe space, really. And then it's really interesting. So thank you for coming. And let's get on to the final questions. So best restaurant. I don't think I asked you the first questions either. Was the best hospitality experience? I didn't even ask. I don't know. I went straight into other.
Yeah. So my best hospitality, was it best ever or is it best recently?
Best hospitality experience. I can't believe I forgot.
I did recently.
Yeah.
I went, actually, I don't know if there's a random one. I went to Oaxaca in Paddington. I don't know if you've been to
the new one in
Paddington. But
well, so we have Market Halls next door. So
yeah.
So it's their first new store for ages.
Yeah,
right?
and it's beautiful.
Yes.
And they have definitely done something different. Service was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And yeah, like knowledge, service, warmth. Yeah, it was really a level up from what I was.
I missed the one in Charlotte Street. So my office used to be opposite it. So I'd go there every lunchtime. So the taqueria, and they had the restaurant, and that was.
And it's always been great, but this is another level. So you should definitely go check it out.
I will definitely check it out. Okay, and I'll tag them in. Best hospitality tech.
I mentioned it earlier. For me, at the moment, Uda.
Okay. Cool.
I love where that's going.
Yeah, me too. Okay, final questions. Best restaurant. It could be the best ever restaurant. It's up to you.
No, so I chose one near where I used to live.
Yeah.
I used to live in Balham.
Yeah.
There is a tiny little family-run Italian called Bucci. And it's not the poshest. It's good quality. It's lovely. But it's just the warmth and the experience and the vibe when you walk in, and the couple of like owners, they greet you,
right?
and it's so consistent and so lovely, and it is everything hospitality.
Yeah, I've got a local one near to me, Italian as well. It just blows out of the water. Best burger.
So there is one I need to try. I need to get a black bear.
Yeah.
I haven't been yet.
Well, you could have walked out of Oaxaca, walked around the corner and gone into...
I was in Market Halls this morning and it wasn't open yet.
Oh.
But I need to go there. But for me, again, I'm a simple guy.
Yeah.
An honest burger and the rosemary chips.
It's good, isn't it?
It will never not be...
And they've got the offer on at the moment. So,
have they?
Yeah, it's like $8.95.
I also need to go see the new Smash Burger place.
Oh, it's awesome.
But
3 minutes.
Yeah, honest burger is the one for me.
3 minutes from order to receive. It's how long it took. And there were people, it was busy. And it was just...
I need to go.
Freaking unbelievable. That was... And then there were people walking around asking if you need any help as well, which is just like blown my mind. So... yeah, definitely need to check it out. Best hotel.
So, I'm not a big hotel guy. So I actually would say either a Premier Inn hub. Mm-hmm. I like a Premier Inn hub.
They're pretty good.
I like the consistency. Mm-hmm. Consistency is important to me. I like the consistency.
Yeah.
Or if I'm feeling a little bit more, I don't know, deep pocketed.
Yeah.
A Citizen M.
Citizen M are nice. Yeah,
that's really nice.
Yeah,
but I'm not a big expensive hotel guy. I don't see the value. Like I struggle with the value of a £300 a night hotel.
Yeah.
Versus what I actually need, which is really
well,
nice
your operations brain's going, I'm only going to be in the hotel, the bed to sleep.
Well, so many times I'm in a hotel, I'm only in a room for 9 hours.
I think I need you to speak to my wife, and so we can have that conversation.
Yeah,
so,
I would love to be able to afford, nights in expensive hotels.
Yeah.
But actually, a Citizen M is my idea of heaven.
Right, it's a good hotel, Citizen M. Okay, no, and to be fair, Premier Hub, Premier Inns, you can now buy. They've got a little store where you can buy the beds and stuff.
Yeah.
It's I was a bit surprised. My wife went to,
and the hubs are really good for working in.
Yeah,
because they've got like downstairs spaces. I like to pop into there. So that's
nice, amazing. So 2 questions for the next guest.
Yes, it took me a while to think of these. So first one, you've probably been asked this one before, maybe. What are you most proud of in your career to date?
Like that.
And following on that, whose content do you read online and why? I always like finding new people to follow. So I look forward to hearing the answer to that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. He's coming in.
You know how there's like certain people that you like to listen to and certain people that you don't.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to give you another round of applause. So thank you very much. I give everyone a little wave goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Where do they find Ops Club? How do they find it?
Ops-club.com.
Nice, amazing. All right, see you guys.
Bye.